Remember that feeling? Your team looks unstoppable. The wins stack up. The stadium is louder than it's been in years. For a moment, it feels like destiny. And then, it's gone. One blown lead, one bad matchup, one historic collapse. Suddenly, a magical playoff run isn't a legacy, it's a warning label. We're breaking down what happens after the dream dies. How franchises rebuild when a one-season wonder turns into a full-scale identity crisis. This is the playoff pivot. The playoff paradox, from daring to disaster. Every postseason team in the NFL lives the same paradox. In January, they're ahead of schedule. By February, they're frauds. Fan expectations don't just drop, they free fall. What was once patience becomes panic. Hope turns into rage. And suddenly, the same roster that changed the culture is accused of being soft, lucky, or exposed. The media smells blood. Analysts rewind every possession. Every play call becomes a crime scene. Every quote is dissected like a confession. And for the players, that collapse doesn't end when the clock hits zero. It follows them into the offseason, into contract talks, into every headline that starts with, "But can they do it again?" When the dream cracks. Let's be clear, this isn't history. This is the current NFL reality. The Baltimore Ravens entered the preseason as one of the league's most perceived complete teams, elite defense, MVP-level quarterback play, high odds to win the division in the Super Bowl, and yet another January exit raised the same uncomfortable question. How many great regular seasons does it take before playoff inconsistency becomes the identity? At some point, dominance has to translate, or the window quietly starts closing. The Buffalo Bills know this feeling better than anyone. Year after year of contention, year after year of heartbreak. By 2026, the conversation isn't about talent anymore, it's about time. How long can you knock on the door before the league stops calling you unlucky and starts calling you unfinished? Then there's the Kansas City Chiefs, the standard. But even dynasties feel pressure. As margins tighten and rosters churn, every postseason loss now sparks a new debate. Is this the same run or the beginning of the slowdown? When greatness becomes expected, even success gets audited. The Philadelphia Eagles felt the whiplash firsthand. Fly, Eagles, fly. A Super Bowl appearance still fresh. A loaded roster still intact. Yet late season inconsistency and postseason disappointment reopened doubts about leadership, chemistry, and sustainability. In the NFL, recent success buys patience, but not immunity. The Green Bay Packers sit at a crossroads. A young quarterback flashes promise. The rebuild accelerated faster than planned. But expectations shift fast in this league. Once hope turns into hype, the margin for error disappears. Now the question is whether growth continues or stalls under pressure. The Detroit Lions may be the clearest example of the paradox. From a lovable underdog to legitimate contender. But once you taste playoff success, the story changes. Suddenly it's not about culture anymore, it's about closing. And that leap, from breakthrough to sustained excellence, is the hardest one in sports. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh Steelers continue to live in the middle. Never bad enough to reset, never good enough to break through. The question isn't effort or toughness, it's direction. Is consistency without contention a strength or a trap? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers face a different challenge. Life after a championship, life after a legend. Competitive, resilient, but searching for a long-term identity. Because staying relevant after the spotlight fades might be harder than winning it in the first place. And finally, the Chicago Bears. Hope is back. Da Bears. Expectations are rising. The rebuild feels ahead of schedule. But that's when the danger starts. When promise turns into pressure, franchises learn fast. Progress doesn't guarantee payoff. Each of these teams entered the 2025 conversation believing they were building something real. Each now faces the same brutal question. Was this the foundation, or was this the peak? Because in the NFL, the difference between a contender and a cautionary tale isn't years. It's one postseason. The aftermath. Unpacking the collapse. When a season ends in disaster, front offices go hunting for answers. First comes the autopsy. Why did the offense stall? Why did the defense fold? Why did role players disappear under playoff pressure? Sometimes the data is brutal. Top 5 regular season efficiency, bottom third playoff execution, elite clutch performances, sudden late game paralysis. These aren't small drops. They're structural cracks exposed by postseason pressure. And that's when the spotlight turns upward. Coaches feel the heat first, then coordinators, then the GM. Because once expectations are raised, standing still looks like failure. The scapegoats, who pays the price? Every collapse demands sacrifice. Sometimes it's fair, sometimes it's survival theater. Veterans get labeled overpaid. Locker room leaders become culture problems. Assistants get promoted elsewhere or quietly fired. Contracts once seen as bargains suddenly feel toxic. Cap flexibility becomes more valuable than star power. But here's the danger zone: overcorrecting. Teams panic and chase fixes instead of foundations. They trade future draft capital for temporary relief. They overpay free agents who look good on paper, but disappear when it matters most. A rebuild doesn't fail in the playoffs. It fails the moment desperation replaces vision. Draft day, dilemmas, and strategic pivots. Draft season hits differently after a collapse. You're no longer building patiently, you're trying to prove the window isn't closed. Do you draft upside or immediate contributors? Do you double down on what failed or tear it down before it rots? Smart teams zoom out. They stop drafting for headlines. They stop chasing best available. They start investing in development, depth, and adaptability. Because dynasties aren't built on revenge seasons. They're built on systems that survive failure. Culture reset, the invisible rebuild. Here's what fans don't see. After a collapse, the most important rebuild isn't tactical, it's emotional. Trust in the locker room fractures. Players stop believing the plan. Coaches coach tighter. Athletes play not to lose their position and not for the team. Winning teams talk culture when things go wrong, not just talk about it when things go right. Accountability replaces hype. Communication replaces ego. And the franchise decides who it really is, without the fairy tale run. The road ahead, redemption or relapse. Heading into the next season, teams coming off playoff collapse face 2 paths. One leads to redemption, a smarter roster, deeper resilience, earned confidence. The other leads to relapse, short-term fixes, long-term decay, and another rebuild before the rebuild even ends. History is clear. Teams that chase validation fail twice. Teams that accept the lesson survive. Fan trust and the final question. And finally, the fans. Because nothing loses loyalty like believing and being embarrassed for it. Smart franchises don't sell promises. They sell transparency. They explain the pivot. They show the plan. They let fans grow with the rebuild, not get blindsided by fast moves. So here's the real question. Was that playoff run the beginning of greatness or a glimpse of what could have been? Because in sports, the collapse isn't the end. How you continue to rebuild afterwards is what makes the legacy return.